Oh, we're getting close. I'll probably be able to go through a couple more photos or a few more photos. Um, oh, my dog's waking up, you guys. Sorry. Um, anyhow, let's jump onto this one because it's a little bit longer, but we can also look at, this is obviously a tilt shift shot. Um, and it's very dramatic. So you can kind of see what was done here. Um, the center of the photo is lined up a little bit under this range. So probably about this high, and then the center of it would be about here. So this is probably where camera center is right in here. I shifted down and to the right to bring in all this stuff instead of just seeing, I'm sure there was just a cabinet here or something like that. And this is an extreme example of why you would use a tilt shift lens. It's to, have your camera centered in one place, and you can almost negate the whole tilt part of the lens. We don't ever use that. We're only shifting with architectural photography usually. So, but I can basically have my camera center here or whatever it is, but then use it to change the perspective, kind of, or like I guess it's the perspective, right? So the angle is the same, perspective changes. So I kind of see a little bit different part of the frame. And if you can imagine the tilt shift lens on the sensor, right? The lens is projecting an image this big on a sensor this big. So when you move the lens around, you can tell it what part of the image you want it to project onto the sensor. And that's what it does basically, is like it'll move around and let you decide what part of this big circle is going to be projected onto this little sensor. If that makes sense. Does that make sense, Phil?
Yeah.
Okay. So this would be, not your typical use of this. This is probably a little high. And it's also a little bit, it's just an extreme use. Sometimes I like it. Sometimes it's too much, but it just really depends on how you're feeling that day. So let's get into processing this one. So this has two ambient frames, which I'm just going to select ambient interior. And that. Now what I'll do is, let's see, I'm going to sync those two photos though. I'm going to use this darker one to kind of help tame some of the brighter areas of this, but then also keep some of the shadowed foreground in here, kind of the same luminance that it is right now. And then so now you can kind of tell how I'm lighting this. That's me with the flash pop right there. So I'm back here with the flash, and you can see the shadow coming from right here. But then there's also a flash setup outside, kind of flashing back into the room. There might be bouncing, but I forgot how that light's set up, but it's kind of so it comes in from the window. And once I dial this in, I think it was more along that one's the one I meant to use. I don't think I'm going to use this one at all. So let's remove this. Just delete it from disk. So let's take these three. And I'm going to take the flash layer interior. I'm going to adjust the exposure to meet my needs. Kind of bringing that highlights down. Same thing here. Maybe I'll just, flash layer interior. Bring the highlights down a little bit. Bring the shadows up a little bit. Looks pretty good. And the same thing here. Flash interior. I think this is for the back of the photo more. So, and it's also, I'm lighting in this area, like the living room, and then I think it's kind of controlling some of this back here. Let's get these all. Another thing I want to do real quick is I'm going to just kill a little bit I can see a little bit of a yellow tinge on all these. So sync, I'm going to check none except for the color. So I just wanted to pull the yellows out. I don't want it to do anything else to what I did. So control that. This one is a little bit more. We'll pull that down a little more, and there we go. All right, so now these are all ready to go into Photoshop. I'll open as layers. We'll wait for them over here. It's not a flattering shot. We should do a challenge to see like who can have the most unflattering flash frame. Or, you got some bad ones? Yeah, there's always, I'm like, ew, I look like that when I'm shooting. All right, we're all loaded up.
1 second.
What's that?
I'm gonna step out for 1 second.
Okay. All right, you guys. He's gonna head out for a second, so just give me a sec here if on questions and stuff. But I'm just gonna keep it going though. So first things first, reverse layers. We're just gonna tick these off until, well, I guess I'm gonna get down here and try to control this stuff first. So what I want to do is just hit a gray mask on here, and then I'm going to kind of just brush out some of the foreground here. I like how the back looks over here. So now I just want to kind of take out some of the darkness that this is bringing in the foreground. I'm going to set it to like a 30% flow, and then just kind of brush some of this out just to kind of lift the exposure a bit back in this area. I think that's pretty good. And that's all we're going to do for that. So I'll merge that down. So now I'm just creating a single ambient layer, and now I'm going to move up to my flashes. So let's try to figure out what I'm going to use this flame for. So what I like here is I like the way that this part is starting to look more backlit, more coming from the direction that the actual light is coming from in the ambient scene. So I'm just kind of brushing that counter. And I'm going to try my best to kind of brush myself out of this as much as I can. Go 100%, and then just, there we go. Try to take this hot spot out if I can. And then I switch back, and I can brush back in that frame to bring that hot, there we go. So pretty much neutralize myself out of the equation there. And then we're going to add one more flash layer, which I think this one, we could probably just use a 50% gray mask on. And you tick it on and off and just kind of see what you want to use out of this, which I'm kind of going to soften that shadow that's happening under here. Maybe I'll go back to about a 20% flow and kind of just brush out some of that harsh light that happened from the other layer. Okay, I would say that's pretty decent for my flash layers. I'm going to select them all, merge them down, 2-layer blend, start working my highlights. 100% flow. Go here and just hit that window real quick. Window real quick. I mean, these might not need any kind of love, but out here definitely needs a little bit. And I'm just going to real fast select that whole area. There we go. Brush. Now I don't have to worry about what I'm brushing in. I'm just going to go all over it. Bring all that down. Be slick now. Ended up with a little bit of a line over here. you can see. Not very noticeable, but just go in and kind of fix that part. And then right here, brush that out just like that. There we go. Okay. There's that. Now, color-wise, I'm seeing some of the ceiling is more yellow than the other. So we're going to do this. I'm on the actual layer here, and it's set to color. I'm going to choose a more neutral part of the ceiling, so maybe like this area. And I'm going to go to like a 20% flow, and then just paint in that ceiling with that color. Bring that kind of more neutral tone in, kill the blues and the whatever kind of color light might be reflected up on the ceiling. There we go. Now you can see what that did right there. There we go. It also looks like it's doing some work on the floor. I don't know if you noticed that. So something I can do here is, this is bringing in the color from the flash layer. If you want to introduce more colors from the flash layer, you can brush in more of that layer, right? So there's that. And then last thing is, we're just going to get the luminosity portions again. I'm gonna leave it at 20% and kind of just go over the ceiling back here so that that flash layer or that flash highlight's not so noticeable. Also with this one, I'm gonna kind of soften up that line on the floor. Go through there. There's some work here, but it looks like the light, remember how we mimicked it, so that flash is actually going the same direction, the shadow. But if you could just soften those lines up, you're gonna hide your tracks a little better. And maybe some of this. Yeah, looks pretty good to me. I guess if you see like some of these highlights over here probably could get controlled a little better. We'll go 100%. Just kind of brushing some of these areas over here. There we go. That way. And you can also, like, over the time where like your flash and your ambient frames are taken, you can see the sun moves slightly. So when you have like this kind of blurred line, like here you can kind of see the faint lines of both. You can, you know, brush whatever frame it is in that you want to kind of help fix with. So also going to do a little bit of love right there. There we go. Back it up. There we go. Okay, cool. So I would pretty much say this is done. Actually, flatten image. Save. There we go. Flash interior or finishing interior, and then that's that. You know, this kind of, if you wanted to, you can control this more. Or I'm sure like the outsourced editors would drop a sky in here or whatever, but I'm not too worried about this sort of thing. I want the people looking over here mostly anyways. So you could crop some of this out if you wanted to, but I would probably just leave it like this and go about onto the next image.